Welcome to the show. Today we focus on women's rights in conflict zones. The occupied territory of Palestine has seen protracted conflict for decades with no sign of ending. Women have faced a disproportionate amount of the violence and abuse in the region, but do issues surrounding basic safety exceed the need for equal access to education and employment? Well, today we hear from a number of experts. A UN development worker in Palestine named Ibrahim Abu Shamala, also Hikmat Basisu, a human rights campaigner. But first, we speak to Jinnah Evans, a British woman of Palestinian descent. She returned to her native land after years of living in fear of what life and the people there were like. Her experience is documented in an autobiography, Return to Palestine, One Woman's Journey. Jinnah, thank you so much for joining us today on Her Voice. Your autobiography really deals with your life living as a diplomat's daughter all over the world. But then the second half of the book focuses on your experience in Palestine. Can you tell me what led you to travel there?
Oh, what led me to travel there? My daughter, she, for some reason or another, although I've never spoken to her about it, wanted to go and see place of my origin, which I never said, and she went there. And then she kept saying, "Mommy, you must go there, you must go there, you must go there." She went there for 2 weeks, then she came back and she started working with human rights organization to go back to Palestine. And she kept telling me, "Mommy, you must come, you must come, you must come." And I was scared. I didn't know why I was scared. I didn't know why I didn't want to go. But I thought, my daughter wants me, so I'll go. And just to please her and see what happens. So that's what made me go. And I'm so pleased I went.
I bet.
I'm so pleased I went.
Your book really focuses not only on your trip, but in relation to the trip, the reservations you had were as a result of your own father's experience in the region and his past as a political exile. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't know what was the problems. I was too young to understand. But he never wanted to speak about it because he was scared of hurting us or polluting our minds, and when we growing up and everything, he wanted us to grow up naturally. But I knew there was pain, and that's why I was scared to go. And when I did go, and I saw what I saw, and it reminded me of so many things that my father would not speak about or would not tell me, and things like that. And I could. Yeah, it made me see the hurt and why he hurt so much.
You wrote about the depravity of the situation of the people in the occupied territory. Tell me what you saw.
Oh, I can't even begin to tell you. Just so much that hurt me like mad. Seeing, to be very honest, I was very ignorant and lived most of my life in England. I'm lucky, I had a good life and everything else, and I was very, very ignorant about what happened there or what was happening, and that's why I was scared to go. I don't know why. But anyway, when I did eventually get there, and I saw what was going on and how people called people Palestinians, they called them from Palestine, and I thought, but there is no such place. How can you call somebody Palestinian when there is no Palestine? It's been taken away. So they were nothing. People aren't aware of that they had no, they couldn't really rule themselves, they couldn't really do things that they wanted to, like they opened airport in Gaza that was bombed down by Israel. They were not allowed to. You know, all the things that was going on. They're not allowed to be like humans, like the rest of the world and things like that, and just get on with their lives and do this. It's all crushed down. And yeah, there's just so much. I don't even know where to start with to start telling you that.
Well, why don't we start with the story of the young girl whose friend had been attacked by some police officers in retaliation. You know, they wanted to also attack the officers in honor of her friend. What happened to her?
But this girl, the eldest girl, who was at that time, about 18 years old, was dressed with an abaya. She was all covered up. And, you know, and this surprised me. Normally, I don't have any objection to people wearing what they want to wear or dress. I don't judge. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But what surprised me is the family. Her rest of her mother was not covered up. Her sister wasn't covered up. Her brother and her father dressed normally. Why is she the only girl dressed like that? So my curiosity, I just couldn't just sit there and just do nothing. So I went and stood next to her and started chattering away. And then I said to her, and she was chatting, she was very sweet and everything. And then she said to me, then I said to her, I want to ask you a question, and I don't know, it's a very rude question, and you have every right to tell me it's none of my business, and you have every right to change the subject. And I'll understand, and I'll not say anything. So she said, what's the question? So I said, I'm just surprised why you, the only one of your family, dressed like this. And she changed the subject and started talking about how long I've been in Palestine, why did I visit it, and which I thought, okay, she doesn't want to answer, it's her right. I don't say anything. So I didn't. I went along with all the other chat. And then suddenly she said, shall we go and sit down and have a coffee? I said, yeah, I'd love a coffee. So we went and sat down on our own, and she started off with just anything, conversation. And then suddenly she looked at me and she said, I'm going to tell you, answer your question. I've never told anybody in my life what happened. And I could see from her body language that she was all shaking and things like that. And I thought, oh my God, what happened? What did I say? I said the wrong thing. So I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. She said, about 5 years ago, when I was about 13, 14, we were outside with a group of friends playing in the street. And we were just messing around and playing. And suddenly, an Israeli policeman came and shot one of our friends. He was a very young boy. And we were all scared, and we all ran different directions and ran away. And then we got together afterwards, and we were all talking about it. And then we all decided, why don't we collect as many stones as we can and not tell anybody, and then meet in 2 days' time or 3 days' time in a certain area and try and throw the stones at the man who shot that boy. So 3 days later, when we all started collecting stones and everything, and then 3 days later, when the meeting came up, I said to my mother, Mommy, I'm going to see a friend of mine. And she said, I heard there was you know, I don't know if it's true or not, that some kids are gathering to collect stones. I hope you're not one of them. And she said, I got very scared. And I said, no, Mommy, no, I'm not. I promise I'm not. So her mother said, well, I love you very much, but if you are there, I myself will kill you if you're lying. She said, no, Mommy, I'm not. So I said, okay, off you go. So her mother said, okay, off you go. So she went to the group of friends, and they got together, and they saw this guy coming along, and they started throwing stones at him. So the guy called another guy, another policeman, and they rounded them up and took them into prison. They took her into one room. One of the policemen started, they undressed her completely, started to rape her. And she was scared and she couldn't do anything and she couldn't shout. She was all scared and everything and taking pictures. The other one was taking pictures of all this. The guy who was raping her was also naked, but the back, so you don't recognize him. And when he finished, he swapped over with the other guy, and the other guy started doing the same things, and that guy started taking pictures. And then when they finished, they said to her, don't you dare ever speak about this to anybody. If you do, or if we hear anything, all these pictures we have taken of you with nothing on, they took pictures of her body and everything, all naked and all that, will be all over the town.
So, obviously, there was a great degree of effort made to shame her shame her into submission and not share this story. What was the larger message that you got from the fact that she then chose to cover up? And
well, she was so scared, and because she lied to her mother, she was terrified to tell anybody anything, and then they'll go and put pictures all over, and what will her mother think with her pictures like that? That she felt it was her fault for lying to her mother, that she shouldn't do anything, and to her father. And she was all very, very scared, so she thought the best thing to do is to just cover up and, you know, think. And she's never told anybody about it at all.
Looking at this story from the perspective of human rights issues, can you tell me what should we glean from this experience?
Well, of course, why did they do this to her? Why? To shame her, because she's a woman. They can shame her, they can do this and everything, they can get as much information as they want out of her because she's scared and because, you know, she wouldn't dare tell anybody else, otherwise all her pictures will be about all over the place and things like that. And it was horrible sitting with her and watching her body language and how scared she was.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Next, we hear from a UN worker about how the legal system has hindered women's advancement in the Gaza Strip. Can you tell me what are the most pressing issues facing women in the Gaza Strip today?
Thank you so much for hosting me today. Indeed, women in Gaza are suffering too much out of the social constraints. As women here, in the other countries in the Middle East, they are living in patriarchal conservative society, which gives little room for women to express, you know, their freedoms or to participate in the public arena. Also, women suffer devastating levels of lack of legal knowledge, and also as of the protracted conflict and the repeated wars against Gaza, you know, poverty and the unemployment is to the peak. Therefore, women are subjected to sexual violence and gender-based violence, violence against women. Women's rights are being neglected or denied, like inheritance rights. Therefore, women are the most victims of this conflict, where they are really facing lots of problems when it comes to marriage and divorce rights and personal status rights and compensations, forced marriages, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so clearly there are a countless number of issues that these women are facing. Can you tell me how women in the Gaza Strip versus the rest of the occupied territory, would you say that their issues are in any way aggravated because they are in such a volatile region?
Exactly. I think the women in Gaza are suffering the most in the Middle East, and even if compared to the other part of Palestine, which is the West Bank, I think the women here are in the eye of the storm, where, you know, Gaza has its own particularities, where we have very limited due to the siege. We have very limited access to movement and access to other countries where women are confined in this prison where all psychological stress is being vented into women. Women are suffering to the most out of the legislations which forbid them or ban them from reunion with their families in West Bank and in 1948 lands inside Israel if they are married to a Palestinian living in Israel or in Jerusalem or something like that. So women in Gaza are particularly vulnerable because of the high levels of poverty and unemployment rates. Women are not but allowed. They have very limited opportunities to participate in the public venues and public arena.
Okay. Ibrahim, obviously, several international humanitarian agencies, including the UN, have set up offices and are working diligently with people on the ground. What role do you think foreign observers such as the UN should play in helping alleviate some of these tensions?
UN and UNDP in particular is trying hardly to support rule of law and to support access to justice to the vulnerable people, including women, and particularly women in the Palestinian case, where they're subjected to lots of their rights are subjected to lots of encroachments and lots of violations, and they have very limited access to justice, which limit their economical independence and their human dignity.
Right.
Therefore, we are exerting so much effort in providing them with legal assistance through supporting them in the civil courts and Sharia personal status courts, which deals with the family issues, and we are supporting them in the policy level and through advocacy and through lobbying for their rights in order to support gender justice, and also we are supporting other institutions, academic institutions, and for example the Bar Association to strengthen lawyers' involvement in supporting the women in the Palestinian society, especially
Okay.
when it comes to gender justice or when it comes to criminal justice, where women are faced with lots of violation in this regard.
Okay. So can you tell me what accomplishments, or have you seen any tangible change as a result of that involvement by the UN?
Of course, I could tell you out of the 3 years we have been involved in supporting women in Gaza context, that lots of change had happened. The first thing, is that we had for the first time engaged with the people in the grassroots level, with the women living in refugee camps near the borders, in the marginalized areas, rural areas. We are supporting them through full engagement on the ground. Second, we simplified the legal jargon to the women and consulted women in what they want to hear about or what they want to learn about. Also, we had created kind of new mechanisms like the mediation, that is community mediation based on law, by bridging the gap with informal justice and making this informal justice system work for the sake of women, supporting women through amicable solutions rather than getting these disputes into the courts, lengthy litigations at the courts, which use the resources and efforts. Therefore, we are providing tangible and practical solutions for women, where we support them in the courts. Therefore, women are more able to show their case, the more able to announce their pain, or more able to share their issues, their legal issues, which we didn't have in the past, where they were
Okay.
short-handed
Okay.
because of the social norms. But now more women are turning into to our legal clinics. More women are calling the broadcasting stations in order to intervene in the live programs to complain about their the injustices and about their legal issues. Lots of women are showing in our legal awareness sessions to complain and to raise their issues. They are more courageous to speak about their suffering.
Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us today. Next, we focus on how women have been campaigning for their rights in the occupied territory. Hikmat, you have been a human rights campaigner for the past 5 years in the occupied territory. Can you tell me why women's rights in particular really resonate with you?
We as a Palestinian women, we are facing two challenges, two big challenges. The first is the traditional challenge which face all the women all over the world. So we are part of the women all over the world, and we face the same troubles. The second, the challenge that we are women under the occupation, and living under the occupation means lots of problems and lots of challenges. Living under the fear all the time, which is make a big block for development and for democracy and for develop the human rights, the human resource, the human way of living for women.
Okay, I see. Can you distill for me some of the most pressing challenges that you've seen in the most volatile regions of the occupied territory?
The first is being always having a list of occupation details, occupation systems. Every day there's a news about what's happening, how many settlements steal the land, how many people taken to the prison, how many checkpoints stop the people. So all of this stop the development and freeze many projects and many initiatives to make growth in the Palestinian community. This is first. The second is when all the community living under fear and under limit of thinking of a future, how much the people can be willing to talk about even a future and to work for a future and to raise their voice towards everything wrong around of them. Like we have a big problem with the law towards women here, and there is separation and conflict between Fatah and Hamas and the government between Gaza and West Bank. So the parliament is frozen since 7 years. So no new laws towards the women life, women needs, women rights.
Okay. These are all issues that must have led you to create this Facebook group, Women for Justice. Tell me a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish through it.
Yeah, we try to build a new thing towards women being together. And we have a new group. Our name is Women for Justice. It's not an organization. It's not a political party. It will be a social party because we need to rebuild how the women look to themselves, how the women support each other. This is the first step. And if we reach the result from that, the best result of positive thoughts towards each other and positive support to each other, we will we will be able to do lots of things towards other needs. So we are holding meetings with women all over the West Bank and do ourselves to do our best to let them understand and know that this is not a work, it's a responsible towards the community, it's a voluntary work, and each woman who want to be with our group need to do some voluntary work to other women around our group.
Can you give me examples of some of the work that you do?
Most of the members in the groups are professional women, and we are doing meetings in the community in different villages and cities in the West Bank, trying to understand the real needs of women all over the West Bank. And all of these professional women supposed to give some voluntary work related to their profession to these women. First, to build the relation. Second, to have a team in every village and in every city. Third, to publish the idea of women support women. Women are together hand to hand with other women. And after building these teams, we can fly and do many creative things, and many things we see it now impossible. But when women work together and be a completed and a strong team, trusted each other, we will do lots of things.
Okay.
So we start from the first step.
Where do you think you will see a tangible change? Is there one particular area of improvement that will be a measure of success for you?
Of course, of course. First, we aim to spread the hope, and it's like oxygen. We cannot live without hope. And under the occupation, we lose the hope. We lost the hope. We want to rebuild our hope and our aim and our dreams towards the life. Then we will plan to follow our dreams. So I am sure that we will reach a good point as much as we live.
Thank you so much, Hikmat, for joining us on Her Voice today.
Thanks to you.
Thank you to all of my guests on today's show. We'd like to hear from you. Visit our website at levant.tv. Have a great day.